Alright, so, just thought I'd have a little fun here and talk about the kind of Star Wars Gravity Falls universe I've kind of been making headcanons out of. I've kind of touched on it before in the past in a few Q&As here and there, but I just decided, you know what the hell, I'll talk about it here. I'll just talk about a lot of the stuff here, because a few things in the headcanon has changed, here and there, but for the most part it's stayed the same, and I really wanted to talk about, what I did with some of the characters there in remaking them as Star Wars characters. So to put it in perspective, yes, this is in the in timeline with Star Wars. This is in the original trilogy, 4 through 6. So let's talk about this. So before I talk about Dipper and Mabel, let's talk about who really starts it all off. Is that it's Stanford, not Grunkle Stan. It's Stanford, his twin brother, who. Basically, he and his brother were both Jedi. They were both Jedi fighting in the Clone Wars. But, however, of course, Order 66 happened. Now, Stan, or Stanley as he's known as, Stanley was on another planet when Order 66 happened, and he had to fight his way against his own, clone troopers. Whereas Stanford, or Ford, Ford was at the temple. He was at the temple when, Vader and, Anakin, now turned Vader, went to the temple to for the Great Jedi Purge, and yeah, he had to literally fight his way out of all of these clone troopers, and fight He even fought Vader himself, but lost the battle, and even he was trying to save some younglings and other, trying to rescue whoever he could during the battle, and yeah, he only ended up saving himself. So from there. He went to go out and look for his brother. He went out to find his brother, who, after fighting his way and escaping his own men who turned on him, he rallied with Ford and was just like, "Man, we just lost everything. Our own troops betrayed us. I can't find any surviving Jedi." They did hear the message from Obi-Wan and Yoda saying that to stay away from the Jedi Temple. It's a trap, and. Stan was just totally a wreck. He lost faith in the Jedi Order. He lost faith in the Republic that had become an empire. He lost faith in everything. So he literally split away and was just like, I just need to be alone. I need to be alone. Whereas Ford went off to find his members of his family who had just given they had just had twin children who he knew would be force sensitive. He knew that they would be force sensitive, and he knew that the Empire would hunt them down and kill them, potential threats. So he took the children in seclusion and raised them on Endor. He actually, before the Empire was building a base on the forest, not Endor the planet, the forest moon of Endor. He actually, he was a friend of the Ewoks. So. On the forest moon of Endor, I'll just call it the forest moon. On the moon, he trained Dipper and Mabel in the ways of the Force and the path of the Jedi. His plan basically was to more or less teach Dipper and Mabel everything he knew and pass it on to them. So in hopes that they would pass on his knowledge and their own knowledge to others, and hopefully restart the Jedi Order with them being, Jedi Masters. Sadly, though, that didn't happen. That didn't happen because Ford took on a third apprentice. He took on someone else by the name of Gideon, and Gideon believed too much in the dark side. And he actually, not that he believed the dark side, he just believed that, the ways of the Jedi were just, this is what got them in trouble, because they were peacekeepers. So he went off and, trained under the dark, he basically went off to the Empire and became an Inquisitor. He became an Inquisitor under the codename of Cypher. Yeah, his codename was Cypher. And meanwhile, Dipper was having his own problems with the dark side. He was kind of being tempted as well, because he was kind of he kind of listened to what Gideon had said, and he was like, yeah, look where the Jedi Order, the way of the Jedi got us. We either need to change, the Jedi Order needs to change, or, we give way to our enemies. It was also becoming clear to Ford that while Mabel was the better swordsman, she was more skilled with a lightsaber than Dipper was. Dipper was way more in tune with the Force than either Ford or Mabel. And Mabel discovered why. He had the Force Drain ability. He actually had the unique ability to Force Drain. He was literally draining the Force out of, plants and animals. He was almost like a vampire. He was basically like a vampire, and he could drain the life force out of something and add it to his own abilities. He even discovered on, I'm gonna just keep calling it Forced Moon. He even discovered that he even discovered a Sith holocron that contained information from Darth Zena, Bane's apprentice turned master. And he learned from that. He even learned some of the teachings of Bane in secret. And, of course, Ford put a stop to it when he started using his Force Drain ability on the Ewoks. When the Ewoks found out that, some of their members were being, there were people going missing, it was turned out that, Dipper was killing, he was trying to absorb their, the midichlorians and Force out of their body. He even studied... he studied some of the works of Darth Plagueis. He was even studying Darth Plagueis. Well, before Ford could, try to rectify this, because it was still his, grandnephew, so it was still his family, even though he feared that, he didn't want someone else falling to the dark side, so he was trying to teach him, otherwise. Vader shows up. Vader shows up alongside Cypher and a whole battalion of stormtroopers. And, yeah, unlike in Return of the Jedi, where the Ewoks could hold their own, not here. They had Vader and an Inquisitor on their side, and they were just killing everybody left and right, until they got to Ford and Mabel and Dipper, and Dipper turned all of his rage towards, Gideon, now known as Cypher, who, he basically, they both fought until they both fell off a cliff. And Mabel believed that, oh god, I just lost my brother. Meanwhile, Ford is fighting Vader, and he's trying to drive Vader away, even though, it doesn't go well for him. When he manages to get away from Vader and finds Mabel, and he says, look, you need to survive above all else. Your brother's gone. I'm not going to last much longer against Vader. You need to survive. If the Jedi to survive, you need to escape. So Ford manages to contact a smuggler by the name of Seuss, and the two, he manages to, Seuss was also the smuggler who was giving them resources, and also the one who took him to, him and the twins to Endor. I forgot to mention that. But yeah, Seuss manages to get Mabel off of the Forest Moon of Endor, while Ford is killed by Vader. So, yeah. It's also, Vader also discovers that, Cypher's still, he goes to look for Cypher and finds something else in his place. I'll get back to that in a minute. But yeah, so there's a bit about that character, where Mabel in this universe is a little, she does have a spunk to her, she does have a lot of energy to her. After the events of what happened on, on Endor, what happened in the events of losing her, her family members, the only family members she ever knew, it really did take a toll on her. It really mentally took a toll on her. I mean, yeah, she tries to keep up appearance of laughing and whatnot, but for the most part, yeah, she's been pretty much humbled and scarred for life after what happened. So she really takes the Jedi training to heart. She really does take the Jedi training to heart, and also she believes she can try to find her, to continue her training. She needs to find another Jedi, because she knows she's not good. She may be a good swordsman, but, her connection to the Force is kind of, it's there, but not that great. So she needs to continue, she needs to find someone to train under. Fortunately, Jedi are in very short supply, so she sets out to find her, sets out to find Stan. Not only probably one of the last few Jedi out there, and her last family member, who's, well, Force sensitive. Meanwhile, Cypher, who actually is Dipper, he survived his fall and actually managed to kill Gideon in the fight. He managed to kill Gideon in the fight. However, when he hit the ground ain't exactly soft when you're falling off of a rocky cliff, and he hit a lot of rocks on the way down. So Vader, discovering him and finding that, his young Inquisitor had been killed by this boy, and he still managed to survive. He actually, what Dipper did is actually absorb the Force and the midichlorians out of Gideon and add it to his own. Vader saw a lot of potential in Dipper, and saw how the Force was keeping him alive, but not for long. So what he did was more or less kind of do the same thing Sidious did to him. He had him, patched up through robotics. So now he had. You see, in this universe, Dipper's very much like Kylo Ren. He's very much like Kylo Ren in the sense that he's he's a devoted. He believes in the teachings of the Sith. He at this point, when he was mildly interested, but now he's like a full-on Sith acolyte. He's like a full-on Sith fanboy, and he wants to know everything there is to know about the Sith. So he goes through records and tries to find holocrons, which is hard because Sidious wants to make it sound like he's the one true Sith, excluding even Vader at this point. Because he's the one who took down. He believes, I did all this work. I fulfilled the grand plan of the Sith. I should get all the credit. There should be no other Sith but me and Vader. That should be it. I am the one true Dark Lord. Anyway, so Dipper is going around now he goes by the identity of Cypher, but he is really messed up. He's got he now wears a mask that is similar to Darth Revan. Yeah, he made a mask similar to Darth Revan that actually works as a rebreather for him. He can take it off. He can take off the mask, and, he can eat and whatnot. It's not like with Vader where he has to stay in a special bubble. It's more like with this mask, he can take it off whenever he can to eat and, do other things, but only for a limited time before he has to put the mask back on. He also has a lightsaber that is the construction of his new red lightsaber as opposed to his little green one. His new lightsaber is actually in the vein of Darth Bane. It's actually, designed like Darth Bane, where it has the small curve at the end of it. And also these sharp ridges at the top of it. Again, something in the vein of Darth Bane. I know, that just rhymed. So, yeah. So moving on, we have with other characters within this universe, we have Wendy. Now there are two. I kind of made two versions of Wendy. Really, I made two versions of her. The first version was that, but really very much the characters are the same character, pretty much the same, just minor tweaks here and there. The first version of her was that she is a Mandalorian bounty hunter, but she has a major hate for Boba Fett, who takes all of the good contracts, and she's just left with nothing. So she has to, work with all this BS, but eventually finds her way to Dipper, who, can sense the Force in her, and there aren't a lot of Force-sensitive Mandalorians. So, and he also detects that she's only half Mandalorian, and she's half something else. So he takes her on as his apprentice, already with the training from Death Watch. Yeah, she was a member of Death Watch, and he teaches her the ways of the dark side and makes her his secret apprentice, because he fully believes that, as long as Vader and Sidious are there, the Sith are going to be diluted and die. There needs to be a new two members of the Sith. There needs to be a new two, or else the Sith, everything that the Sith worked for will die with Sidious and Vader. So he teaches her everything, but the problem is that even though as much as he keeps saying that he's a true Sith Lord, and the Sith do not care for their apprentices, he kinda does care for her. He does care for her. So, yeah. Now, Wendy's lightsaber, her red lightsaber, is very much like Ventress. Hers is curved, like I said with Dooku and Ventress, is that it has the curve handle to it. The second version of Wendy is that she was a slave girl who was taken from her family and made to be one of Jabba's slave girls. But, Cypher, Dipper, was on a mission and came across her after sensing her power, killed all the slave traders and freed her, and made her, once again, his secret apprentice, hiding her from Vader and the Emperor. Both versions, she's she's pretty much his apprentice. and he believes with her help that he can, basically become